sign. We all stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Public comment. Is there any public comment? Please state your name and address for the record.
Deborah Altiero, 37 Coldstream Drive, Oxford. I noticed that Prospect Street is back on the agenda for executive session. And I just wanted to read something quoted in the Valley Sentinel. Mr. Grasso himself, I have not made a final determination and I don't own the parcel, but it would be developed residentially at some point. I can develop the other parcels without it. He's telling me he doesn't need it, yet the town is still entertaining it. It even goes against your own plan of conservation. Fact is, on page 71, under conservation strategies, natural resources, policy, identify, and protect the natural resources. This is within a grade A aquifer. There are many natural springs throughout the entire mountain. You start hitting that with dynamite. Where are the rejuvenation areas? What happens? Has anyone contacted Aquarian? It is within the aquifer to see if it would be permitted for blasting within the abutting aquifer. Grade A aquifers are highly regulated. The entire mountain feeds 5 wells for Aquarian, which also are sand wells, and they're approximately 70 to 90 feet deep, and there's 5 of them. At one point 30 years ago, there was 20,000 gallons per day that went through those wells. I'm sure things have changed. It may be more as the population has increased. Access to natural hazards. There's flooding, landslides. This is all in your plan of conservation. Do you even know what that mountain does? Start clearing trees, blasting, you run the risk of landslides. The mountain is made up of ledges and rocks with valleys and sand and gravel alternating. It is not solid rock. It is an open-faced ledge along Woodside Avenue and consisting of both. You have homes built about 12 inches off the rock ledge, behind made of cinder block. On page 76, it refers to the slopes and potentials for landslides, steep slopes, or prime locations for them. Do you realize places on Woodside have more of a grade than 85%? Your plan refers to high groundwater saturation and an interruption of slopes by natural and human activity. What is the remediation? Preserve and acquire open space to reduce flooding and demolition of flood-prone areas. Regulate and prohibit development in protected and sensitive flood-prone areas. You had a 1 in 100 flood on Woodside Avenue about 9 months ago. You start blasting out that mountain, that water's going to come off that mountain and go into Holy's Pond. And you don't want to address Holy's Pond. God knows you didn't own it. It took me to come before you to tell you that you owned it. You don't know what you own in your land. Who is manning your land? Somebody should be managing it because somebody's not doing a very good job. Page 77, protect natural resources. That's your grade A aquifer. What is blasting the top of that mountain going to do? You may not even be able to get that property developed. The front part and the back part. This is a 2-time loser. It lost twice. One for the elevation, for runoff into Woodside Avenue, into the aquifer. You're going against your entire plan. Why do you even write these things up if you're gonna go against them and say, this is a good idea? I'm telling you, there's no Indians sitting here in this room. There are people that are very concerned about their homes and who's protecting them. Everybody on this board is responsible to protect your residents. You're not doing it. What you're doing is giving the green card for unchecked development because there is no plan. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mike Rankwith, 28 Woodside Avenue. She almost stole some of my stuff, so this wasn't a copy, so I apologize if it's a repeat. The town of Seymour, Connecticut has information about most anything you may be looking for on its homepage. I encourage your residents to take the time, read, study, get informed, and get involved. With development pending on the mountaintop, which I call it the mountaintop from where I live, sale of town property, 100 Prospect Street, that's when I got involved, okay? So, some of my findings, going through the website. The Seymour Conservation Commission. Appointed board members responsible for developing, conserving, and supervising the town's natural resources. They research the potential utilization of open spaces, inventory natural resources, and create watershed management plans. They are also an advisory committee to the planning and zoning and the first select person. Also working with the land use and planning and zoning enforcement officer. Their mission is to inventory, manage, and protect the town's spaces and natural resources while preserving Seymour's historic character. They promote and foster public appreciation of the environment through education, community engagement, sustainable practices, and conservation efforts that enhance watershed resources. Search again, Seymour Land Conservation Trust Incorporated, dedicated to the conservation of wilderness and wildlife. The NVCOG, Naugatuck Valley Council of Government. Seymour is one of 19 members that make local land use decisions that balance ecological, social, and economic factors. Communities make decisions on how they use land in land conservation. There's a lot going on that webpage. The town of Seymour, your 10-year strategic plan. Seymour's 10-year plan in Pillar 1 and the community for land use and open space includes values for our town. They include collaboration, accountability, being fair, committed, effective leaders, and proud. Going back to what Deb may have said, plan of conservation and development, soon to expire in 2026. It states it is a living document. It also states the Planning and Zoning Commission's belief is that this POCD, which is the Plan of Conservation and Development, is the foundation of this community and its residents and stakeholders. A guide for the town in the future. Strategies listed include protecting groundwater, surface water, preserve hilltops, minimize timber harvesting, support local land trust, and have funds to purchase open land. These are some of the many mentions you will see when you navigate through the Seymour homepage. We are proudly represented on those boards and commissions and councils by these volunteers who dedicate their time, but do so for having a genuine care for the well of Seymour for years to come. So we thank you. To the residents of Seymour, there is no board, committee, or council listing you by name in the town page. But we thank you for your time for caring about Seymour and attending these meetings. In closing, for the Board of Select Persons, you are a 7-person elected board member. You are 7 elected board members. I apologize. The residents behind me are strong residents, volunteers, voters, and support folks who stand strong. Tri-Town Plaza, the Rogel Building fire are some painful reminders how landowners operate. Sell the land, buy the land. Got a tenant, I lost a tenant. Get a state grant, lose a state grant. Zoning change, fines, blight, and build a fence. I know where I would build a fence. I ask, listen to your volunteers that made up all of those around those boards and your residents, and don't sell the property. Thanks.
Is there any other public comment?
Good evening. My name is Ralph Capiello. I live on Stevens Street in Derby. However, I have friends and family that live on Woodside. And I have some concerns. And my concerns and questions to you are, I'm sure you're all aware about the caves that are up above Woodside Avenue over there. I want to know if you realize how many caves are up there. Has there been any engineering study as to what could happen when you blast on top with the caves underneath? Has that been a consideration? Because if any of those caves collapse and there's any kind of a landslide at all, it's going to be a catastrophe that will go down in the history books. If there is a study, I'd like to see what the results of the study were. And if there isn't a study, I'd like to know why there hasn't been one. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any other public comment going twice? Public comment going 3 times? No public comment. We'll close public comment at 7:15. Approval of the minutes for the regular meeting held on May 6, 2025.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Al. Motion by Al. Second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Trish. Discussion?
I just want to clarify, underneath item 20, underneath select persons' public comments, it states in here that, it says, Teresa stated she appreciates townspeople coming out in support for the emergency management director. The next line says she never intended to get political. That's not what I said. What I said was I was clarifying, due to the public comments, that it was never political, as the people had stated. So if we could clarify that, I'd appreciate it.
Leanna? Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may,
Sure.
page 5, item 11, regarding the Bungay School borrowing. The name Michael Nasso is incorrect. It should be Michael Locasso, Losasso, from Antonazzi Associates.
Got it? Okay.
Thank you.
Any other notes, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Noes? Abstention?
Abstain.
You abstain. Chair votes aye. Motion carries 501. Note Trish's abstention. Thank you. All right. Number 5. Discussion and possible action with Human Resource Director Chris Pelosi regarding the position of emergency management. Teresa, you had asked that this be...
I did.
So you want to take the lead on this one?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris, for coming.
Sure.
I just wanted to clarify because this has been ongoing for a couple of months now, and I know when we initially had the storm, we realized how much work goes into the emergency management director position, and we asked you to go out and to do a salary survey to see what we should do, if it was going to be a stipend, part-time, full-time. And we charged you to do that. You came back to us and recommended a stipend between 5 and 15 and recommended 10,000. So I would just like you to be able to clarify to the board here exactly what your findings were.
Yeah, the information that I presented in February hasn't changed. It's the same information then as you'll hear it is tonight. Before I do that, there's a lot to unpack with what you just said. But the most important thing, I think, to first clarify is what the board tasked me with doing, because you just indicated that the board was looking for some direction as to whether this would be a stipend or a part-time or a full-time position, and that is not what the board tasked me to do. The board tasked me with going out and specifically identifying what the pay range would be for the emergency management director position if it were to be a stipend position. When I became involved, the board had already decided that in transitioning from our former emergency management director to our new emergency management director, that it wanted to pay something because the scope of responsibilities of emergency management has increased. And at the time, we knew that perhaps we don't need a full-time emergency management person, but we do want to compensate them in some way because there's more responsibilities with the position. So that was what the board tasked me with doing, going out, sourcing the best information that I had available to me to come back to the board and offer a recommendation. A little bit of background. I have up on the screen here, again, the methodology has not changed. We look at the population size of the town as the primary driver as far as what towns we want to look at to determine compensation of a new position, which is what this was doing. We're benchmarking where this position would fall with respect to similar sized towns as it relates to a stipend amount. So we typically look at Seymour being a town that has roughly 16,000 people. We typically look plus or minus 2,000 or 3,000 in population. Sometimes, depending on the towns that choose to participate in the CCM salary survey, that range expands because if there's not enough data within that, narrow range, I'll expand it. In this case, from 10 to 20,000. But if we get away from what we typically look at as far as the size of the town, because in this example it happens to not make any difference at all. The green is towns that are similar size to Seymour. The stipend is 5 to 15,000. Steve, if you scroll up and down, if we even go up to towns that have 90, 100,000 people, the number doesn't change. It's $5,000 to $15,000. So there were a lot of comments that were made in the previous meeting as it relates to emergency management. The two most important ones that I want to address is first, the idea that the information could in some way be bad. The salary survey information is what it is. So, again, getting back to what the board tasked me to do in this was to go out and get the best information I could, which is here. There is no bad information. The board can choose to not accept my recommendation, but the idea that the information could be bad is not, that doesn't make any sense because this is the information. And it's based on the 50 to 70 municipalities that choose to participate in the salary survey. So before we can get into any conversation about how we arrive here, this is the starting point. The second comment I want to address is the ill-advised idea that my salary recommendation or stipend recommendation would change based upon whether I did it prior to the flood event or after the flood event. there was a lot of conversation about when did he do the salary study? Was it beforehand or after? Makes no difference. It sounded like there was this idea that if I had done it after the flood, that I would in some way factor the performance of the EMD into my recommendation. So I guess I'm not clear as to why that would be something that anyone on the board feels I should consider. Again, we're looking at the services provided by the position and the value of those services to the town when we fix the compensation of a job classification. An individual's performance, when a firefighter walks into a burning building or a cop prevents a robbery or a teacher gets Teacher of the Year, they don't make more money for doing it. So I'm struggling to grasp why the center of last meeting's conversation was when did this happen with respect to the flood? And I guess my point is it doesn't matter. We're interested in the scope of the job responsibilities, the knowledge and skill set required to perform those responsibilities, and a host of other factors that we consider when we're benchmarking the pay range of a new position. Doing a qualitative analysis of the job he did in response to the flood would be totally inappropriate for me to do. The board spent extensive time reviewing these organizational charts for the town. And in any iteration of those organizational charts, there is no line from emergency management to human resources. He doesn't report to me, I don't review his work, and I'm not in a position to. And quite frankly, considering anything other than the position and the services that the position provides in assessing what the stipend range should be would be, in my opinion, fiscally irresponsible. If the board's prerogative is to award a merit-based increase based on any of those outside things that it feels is important, that's its right to do that. But as far as what the board specifically tasked me with doing, has nothing to do with the flood event. The other Valley towns aren't in here. They chose not to participate in this year's survey. Oxford pays $5,000. Ansonia's a volunteer, it's unpaid. Derby's a volunteer, it's unpaid. Shelton has a full-time emergency management 40-hour-a-week position. It's not even, you can't even compare it to what we're doing here. That's really all I had to say, unless there's other questions that you have as far as the pay range is concerned.
No, I appreciate you giving us this information. That's what was my understanding. I keep saying we followed the due process. You went out, you did this due diligence, and came back with the numbers that we went through, and the board here, that were here at that time, approved it unanimously. So I'm just trying to get this put to bed so it won't be an ongoing issue. But I'm going to leave that to the rest of my board members if they have any comments.
Pat?
No comment.
Trish?
I was very clear. I was clear. I'm good.
Al?
Same.
Right.
Mr. Pelosi, do any of the communities that that are surveyed pay a stipend plus, what I mean by plus, if there's a catastrophic event such as we experienced, that there would be additional pay? Not merit pay, but additional pay for the services rendered.
I did not encounter any such compensation model that in any way included additional pay depending on the response to a catastrophe. No. It's a fixed stipend amount, and more often than not, it's some other public safety official, whether it be career fire or police chief, or it's a full time position in these bigger cities in Fairfield County. But around us, it's a stipend, and I didn't encounter what you're describing in speaking with any of the towns and cities that did participate, as well as the several that didn't that are in the valley.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Is there any other, because like Teresa, I want to put this to bed. Is there any other discussion on the emergency management director's position or the person?
There was one other comment from the last meeting about someone had proposed a joint meeting between the Board of Finance and maybe this board, and maybe my involvement as well. Hopefully tonight, ends the conversation about the volunteer stipend, so that meeting doesn't have to happen. If it does, I'd be still more than happy to attend and present the information again.
I think that was a resident who suggested that we have a meeting.
I don't recall where it came from.
Were you gonna say something? Oh, okay.
And the Board of Finance is a separate board from the Board of Selectmen, so, again, I've said this in the past, they have the prerogative, even for the first select person's budget, to listen respectfully and consider everything that's said, but ultimately it is up to the Board of Finance where they land with the budget, whether it is cutting something further or increasing something more so, based on their own budget meetings. So we need to understand that. I don't see, while I'm not opposed to ever having a joint meeting with someone, I don't see the purpose, understanding that that's their role. And it's always frustrating when they don't listen to the people in the know or who are making recommendations. But again, it is their prerogative. That's what their board is responsible for.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Chris. Okay. Executive session, possible sale of town, I'll say it again, possible sale of town-owned land at 100 Prospect Street. Can I have a motion to go into an executive session?
Motion to go into executive
Second.
session.
Motion by Trish, second by Al. Discussion. Oh, inviting attorney Rich Bertula and Kurt Miller.
And may I just note for the record, the basis is the discussion of the selection of a possible sale of town-owned property when the publicity regarding such potential sale would adversely impact the price of such potential sale.
Okay. Motion to go to executive session at 7:31. All in favor?
Aye. I'm going to recuse myself.
Chair votes aye. You recuse yourself?
I'm recusing
Why are you recusing yourself?
because one of the clients in our Shelton office may be involved in something. Is that Phil?
That is Phil.
One of the potential buyers is a client of my Shelton.
Okay, so you want to leave?
That LLC may be involved, I'm not sure.
All right,
I'm going to leave.
okay.
Taking a break?
Yep. have a nice social break? Are you ready? Or are we ready for Steve? Are you ready? Can I have a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved, noting that there were no votes or actions taken during the executive session.
Motion by Pat. Second by Teresa. All in favor?
Aye.
Noes? Abstentions?
I abstain.
Please note, Selectman Stanek's abstention. And 5 yeses to come out of executive session. Okay, thank you. Discussion and possible action regarding the potential sale of the town-owned land at 100 Prospect Street. Attorney Bertula?
No action will be taken at this
No action will be taken at this time.
Thank you. On to number 8, appointments. Okay, in front of you, you'll see the packet of appointments. The first one is Beth Nastiriak. She's going on the Regional Water Authority. She's replacing Mike Horrible. In your packet, there's his letter of resignation. It's an appointment for 2 years. She's on the board until June 30th, 2028. She's seeing out the last of his term for this year and then on to 28. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
time.
Second.
Motion by Pat, second by Fred. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 6-0. For the Green Team, this is part of our Sustainable CT. Anne-Marie Dragonis, appointment for 2 years until 12/1/25.
So moved.
Motion by Al,
Second.
second by Trish. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain. Note 501, my abstention. Stacy Fabiano, she's a Democrat. Green Team, and replacing nobody because this is a new one. An appointment for 2 years until 12/1/25. Then she'll be reappointed again. All in favor?
No.
Wait.
We need a motion.
Motion.
I'll make the
Motion, sorry.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Al,
Second.
second by Teresa. All in favor?
Aye.
I just want to put something on the record if I could, through you, Madam Chairwoman. One of the requirements for the Green
Oh, yeah.
Team, one resident serving on your sustainability team. As you know, Lily Fabiano is on the sustainability team. This is her mom, so it's just putting her mom on to kind of work with Lily. So this is essentially kind of putting Lily on. There are 3 necessary classes that need to be taken, and I think we should drop that on over the summer on a girl that's in the middle school.
Yeah.
So, just I want to get that on the record.
Next one is James Baldwin of the Green Team, replacing nobody. It's an appointment for 2 years. Part of the sustainability is you have to have professional staff on there as well.
Correct, one senior level manager.
One senior level management. 12/1.
I move the appointment of James Baldwin.
Motion by Fred,
Second.
second by Al. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 6-0. Tax Incentive Plan, Trish Danka, Republican, appointment until completion.
So moved.
Motion by Pat, second by Al Bruno. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 5-0-1. Please note Trish's abstention. Tax Incentive Plan, Anne-Marie Dragonis.
Forgot Teresa.
Oh, I forgot, jeez.
Forgot one.
Teresa Conroy, sorry Teresa. Tax Incentive Plan until completion.
So
I
moved.
will move the appointment.
Second.
Motion by Fred, second by Al. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstain.
Teresa's abstention. Votes goes 5-0-1. What?
No, Steve's making sound effects. Yeah.
Tax Incentive, Anne-Marie Dragonis.
You just push your button.
Appointment until completion.
So moved.
Motion by Trish, second by Al. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain, 5-0-1. Kurt Miller, the homeless liaison. I could go so many places with that one. Appointment, 12-1. It's part of the sustainability CT, sorry, Green Team,
Yes.
part of that one.
Correct.
So moved.
Motion by Al,
Second.
second by Trish. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 6-0. Thank you, everyone. Add to, we'll get to a tax incentive plan committee, we'll get a date. Trish, I'll send out an email to see what works for everybody. Okay, tax refunds and abatements. In your packet, you will see that there's a tax refund abatement from Christina Swanson in the tax office. Please review it to make sure there are no concerns or issues.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion by Trish,
Second.
Seconded.
second by Al. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Correspondences. Mike Horrible's letter of resignation as the Seymour representative for the South Central Regional Water Authority. He's been on the board since 2019. We appreciate all his hard work on there. Number 11, public comment. Public comment going twice. Public comment.
Chris Edwards, 63 Heritage Drive. I'd like to just put something to bed tonight, because this is going on for way too long. Now that we had the HR director here and wasted his evening, my resignation was never about money. I've stated that 2 or 3 times. My resignation was about the article put in the Voices. The last 2 lines that was put in the Voices, that this was a personal gain because I have friendships within Town Hall. That's what it was for. Can we please stop bringing in department heads over this? This poor guy wasted his night. I let this go 2 weeks ago when I resigned, and it's still going on. Let it go. It wasn't about the money, for the record. It was about the article put in the Voices, the last 2 lines of the article. I can read it if you'd like, but go back and read it. That is why I resigned. Thank you.
Okay. Select persons, public comment. Do you say you want to go last or you want to go first?
I can go.
Okay.
If you want. I was happy to see that Merling Hills Forest is now a designated open space of 55 acres. That's that development up on Scowcroft Street. It abuts up to Woodhaven and up to Chatfield Farm, so that's a nice addition up there. And I just want to pass this down. I put this out on my Seymour Past and Present about Mr. Gallagher. And the sign I put up there too, there's a sign, you can pass it down, it's at the high school field. And someone made a comment that looks like we need to get a new one replaced.
Yes.
Bill Lynch, I don't know who this person is.
Bill Lynch, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt
No,
you,
go ahead.
but I'll let you know. Bill Lynch reached out to me. And I forwarded it to Dr. Compton. I included Dr. Compton on the
Beautiful.
email. I put them together, so he's donating a new sign.
Yeah, that's a great thing. So that's a good honor for Mr. Gallagher. I'm disappointed that Seabridge Pharmacy is now closed. I'm hoping, I believe Jonas Steriak is looking to try to get someone else in that area.
Yes.
But that's a big loss for our community. And with that being closed, it's a good thing that Ocean State Job Lot's opening back up. So I guess everybody can get onto their Facebook now and make the notice that Ocean State's open,
Now, all we need is UPS.
right? No, okay. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Teresa. Fred?
Since there's mention of a sign, could we possibly support a sign for Jewstown Community Park? Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I know that Sunday is the Memorial Day Parade. Are we all invited to sit
It's
on?
in my notes, yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yep. Yes.
I just want to thank Mike Horrible for his service as our WA rep for those years, and I'm looking forward to the Memorial Day Parade. I hope people come out. It's always a great time. Kick off the summer season and to come together as a community.
Thank you. Trish?
Just want to wish everyone a happy Memorial Day.
At least you're not coughing. Thank you. Pat?
The sale of the 21 spaces by the train station, has that still been consummated?
Do we want to add it onto the agenda?
Well, I can answer the
Okay.
question. I don't think you need to add it for that. The answer is no, it's very close to being consummated.
Because here's my concern. The green railing that runs along those spaces, I had originally brought this up several months ago, and Public Works Department was good enough to go over there and take care of that railing that is falling onto the parking spaces. There now is another section that is falling onto the parking spaces with the cast iron signs which bear 2-hour parking. My recommendation is that all of that should be taken down so that there is no potential liability to the town. So if we could look into that, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
For something you said in the Public Works? Have you spoken specifically with Frank?
I do not give direction to the public.
No, I'm just asking you to spoke, so when I call him tomorrow.
No.
Okay.
He's been on vacation, he just returned.
That's right, you didn't have your meeting on Monday because he was on,
Yeah.
you didn't have your meeting on Monday because he was on vacation.
Right.
Okay.
Yep, I'll take care of it tomorrow.
And last but not least, happy Memorial Day to everyone.
Oh, happy Memorial Day to you too. Okay. So we'll go right to the Memorial Day Parade first. Yes, the Memorial Day Parade, the board is invited to sit on the reviewing stand. Parade kicks off at 11 o'clock. I would advise everyone to get there between 10 and 10:15 because they have readings before then, and there's some services going on before then. So yes. Okay, on the first Selectwoman's report, we'll go over the Bungay roads. We'll go over the roads first. Bungay, Botsford, West Church Street. Additional signs have been added, and there's a big sign that says road closed, do not enter. Going down Bungay Road where carriage is. They are just completed the drainage, curbing, and paving has been completed on Botsford section. They were completing the wall, the retaining wall on Bungay, and they were completing the sidewalks. So now they're going to go, that was phase 0 is done, so now they're working on phase 1. Striping of Botsford Road should be completed by the end of this week, and that section is done. So we've been asked, why can't we have a police officer stand out there? That will, even though it's a private duty job, that will increase the overtime for the police department and go over budget on that. So that's why all the signs are there and the detour signs are there. On Main Street, the construction will start in June, and the work will be done over the summer. That's putting in new sidewalks and new striping for parking downtown. On Route 67, the work that seems it's never going to end. They're about a month behind. They're painting the Route 67 bridge on the south side. The south side is done. They're painting the north side now, and they're going to start working from River Street all the way on up to Allen's Plumbing. They're putting in sidewalks and widening the road over there. The sidewalks on that side of the road will be closed, so the left side will be open. As I said, they're currently behind 30 days. By the end of August, the road should be done and the construction should be done in that area by the end of August. It's my understanding that they are widening the road over by Allen's Plumbing, and that island that we've been hearing so much about is being taken out. There was a meeting, email going back and forth with their fire chief, town engineer, myself, and the state engineer's project. They thought it would be aesthetically pleasing if they put an island there, not realizing that our fire trucks have to take that turn because they thought the fire trucks would just go up Falls Road to get up the hill and not use that road. Yeah. Maple and Pearl, the engineering report is in. We do need a signal there due to the amount of cars that come through that area. The only way a signal can be taken away would be to do a total redo of that intersection. We discussed putting this through LOTSIP funding, as the signals and construction and engineering designs would be very costly. It would cost approximately $200,000 and 3 years for LOTSIP approval. In the meantime, we'll continue to monitor this section and see what we can do. So $200,000 would be to get the study done and to get the area done. And then, of course, you have to wait till it goes through LOTSIP, and that could take 3 years to go through LOTSIP. Clinton Road, as we all know, this road needs work. We don't have any houses on that road, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't take care of it. That road needs total reconstruction. The DOT says if we do it, they want to put a roundabout over by the dam, and there will be several environmental and hazard reports that would need to be done for the dam. And we'd have to go for the structure of the dam and also look at 100 to 1,000 year flood. We'd have to do an invasive species study and endangered species studies. We'd have to look at the vegetation. A bike lane and sidewalk would have to go in, and the curbing would have to be done, and this will not be happening overnight, as several state departments need to be involved, not only from the DOT, but from the DEP. They would have to give approval for that. And the town would be responsible for the cost of all designs and engineering reports. Cemetery Road, that road needs to be taken down to dirt and redone completely, and that approximately costs about $500,000. There was talk, not voted on, not gonna do it, but there was talk about making it a cul-de-sac and giving the state the responsibility of the road between the house and the cemetery. The cost of the cul-de-sac would cost about $50,000 to $75,000. We know the houses on the road would not be happy with the cul-de-sac, but that was something that was discussed. No actions, as I said, were taken or have been decided. We know that people use that road as a cut through from Holbrook to Mountain. On to Haddad, we discussed with the town engineer about abandoning this road and making it a cul-de-sac, but there is one house on that road that is on the Seymour line. We would need to get a letter from the Woodbridge Fire Department and from the first selectman of the town stating that should there be an emergency at that house, that Woodbridge would respond to it. But this is just in the discussion stage. What we're talking about is putting a cul-de-sac there is because you have the pond over there, the reservoir over there, and making that an open space where people can walk, they can jog, they can ride over there. Shelton Street, if you remember, we paved this road a couple years back. Then Aquarian decided that they were going to replace the water line, and now there's an issue causing some damages with the road and a resident's apron. Aquarian will be out tearing the road up, and they were replacing the pipe and repairing the road properly. I talked about the island in front of the Russian Club. Seymour Avenue, they're redoing the units there. There's heavy equipment up there. They redid their laterals last year in the road, and we were supposed to pave it. But then the housing authority said, oh no, we're going to have reconstruction done to these homes. So could you wait, because they're going to have heavy duty equipment, because they're redoing all those houses up there. So we said, fine. So Seymour Avenue is going to be getting done next summer. Brian or someone from his staff will be coming to the next meeting to give us our annual roads update to discuss future roads needs. And at that point, I'm going to be asking the board to consider adding a referendum question for $5 million for the roads. On other news, the community service elevator was fixed, but we've had 2 issues within the last week. Cone Elevator was out there today, and we're waiting to hear what the problem is and how they're going to fix it. And it will be free. It won't cost us anything because it's still under warranty. The annex office, land use, building department, zoning, enforcement, excavation permits, the fire marshal's office have all moved over to the 2nd floor of the community center. This floor will be taking the archives out of the bottom floor of the community center and putting the archives over here. The 175th anniversary of the town will be happening on June 1st, 2025. The event kicks off with cake at Town Hall at 1 o'clock, and the events taking place. There'll be events taken out throughout the events taking place throughout the town. At the community center, Seymour High School will have a petting zoo, pony rides, face painting, a DJ, concert, and fireworks. This was all made possible through the Culture and Arts, the Seymour Historical Society, Parade and Events Committee, and the local businesses that are helping out and donating. They'll be putting out a flyer within the coming week. Planning and Zoning EDC Commission met and voted last week to approve 67 townhouses to be built on Spring Street. Ocean State had their soft opening yesterday, and their grand opening is 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. We had a preliminary discussion with the developer on a piece of property. He came in to pay a blight fee, and now he's looking to make that a productive piece of property. So we're excited about that. We're still in discussion with a couple of businesses coming into Seymour for the Tri-Town and the surrounding area. Venmo and PayPal, the town is working on setting up the links to accept Venmo and PayPal as form of payments at Town Hall and the transfer station. As we know, the summer camp used to be at Bungay School, but for the summer it will be up at the high school. The VFW Lodge 12084 will be hosting Vets Helping Kids event here at Town Hall on June 1st, 2025. They received 80 wiffle ball bats and balls to give out to children, and they're also looking to receive any slightly used sporting equipment that we may be able to give out to the kids. The goal of the lodge is to help kids that want to play sports but may not have the means or equipment to do so. I had the honor of attending the Woodbridge Memorial event this past Sunday to honor the veterans that are no longer with us. VFW Lodge 12084, John Bahoon presented a wreath and also presented a floor arrangement. And based on the projected surplus of 2020 fiscal year 2025, I would like to put money into the circuit breaker program for the seniors. Once I have a surplus amount, a permanent, a known surplus amount. I will come back to the board to get that vote. And then Advancing Heroes is hosting their second annual event on July 19th, 2025, to raise money to help those that wish to become EMTs and paramedics. They will be giving out scholarships to help offset the cost of the schooling, as you cannot get financial aid to become a paramedic or an EMT. And several events happening this week. Blessing of the Flags at Seymour Congressional Church is happening on Friday. Great Hill Hose is hosting their blood drive on Friday, the 23rd from 8 to 1. The Memorial Day Parade is Sunday, as I stated. Kicks off at 11. Parade kicks off at French Park, and ends at the Community Center. And on Monday, the Memorial Day services will take place at Bank Street Bridge at 9 a.m. and French Park at 10 a.m. And that is all I have. And with that, I adjourn the meeting. Thank you.